Hey guys, how's it going? So, with 2018 finally being here and Marvel's books for Phoenix Resurrection and their X-Men Gold annual #1 came out, was it last week or something like that? Starting to see what CB Cebulski is going to be doing in the future, or the current trend. Doesn't seem like sales doing that much better. Maybe a little bit better. I think Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, it seems like overall the majority of people seem to be enjoying it. I've been reading the last few issues. It's been pretty good, which is kind of crazy because the last 3 or 4 issues of Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man has been better than arguably the last year or 2 of Spider-Man with Dan Slott. And it's kind of funny coming from the guy who hates Spider-Man is writing the best Spider-Man comic at the moment, which some people might say is not saying much because Spider-Man's been written like a complete buffoon for the last couple years. And it really seems like the whole thing with Ethan Van Sciver, diversity in comics, just some guy, Yellow Flash, Mim Headroom, Captain Frugal, and Nerd Wonder and others. It doesn't seem like it's getting that much better. Even on Twitter the other day, there was just a long, I don't know, I wanted to say discussion because I felt like I was discussing it pretty calmly, straightforward. But a lot of people were like, oh, all y'all are doing is whining about a company's not putting out what you want and all this type of stuff. You're wasting your time whining. And I'm just like, this is why I can't say that because I don't have any statistics. But personally, I feel like this is why part of the reason why the comic book industry is just suffering. I put up pictures of the She-Hulk comic, or Hulk at the time. It's the one when She-Hulk's wearing a evening gown and she's like, I don't need no man. It's the one with Squirrel Girl on the cover looking ridiculous. The art's garbage, but that's my preference. Mockingbird wearing the shirt asked me about my feminist agenda on the cover. A couple other pictures, and I showed them how diversity is done in DC with the Green Lanterns comic, Batwoman, and a couple other of the covers with Wonder Woman. And I said, if you see these 2 separate companies on the shelves, which one would you pick? And one of them was like, I honestly don't care about anything DC's doing. I was like, okay, all right, well, that's your opinion. You're inclined to feel that way. I'm not going to attack you. One other guy was like, I don't care. I honestly don't care what you have to say. And I'm just sitting over here and I'm like, well, you asked. You started this discussion on the thread, so it seems like you do care. I mean, you post this stuff, so it seems like you do care. The guy who even started the discussion, who seemed pretty chill out, he was pretty laid back compared to the other 2, because one of them was a comic pro. I put that in air quotes because I looked at her profile picture and I was like, how much do you want to bet that she's a YA novel writer and probably doing some indie comic, and she probably only has like 2 products or 2 books arguably that you could probably buy or be interested in purchasing, whatever. Went to her profile, that's exactly what she was in her description: YA author, indie comic book writer. And then I looked at some of the and I'm not gonna trash that because there are people that are legitimately, I don't care about it, but are legitimately interested in that. I'm like, okay. So we had a discussion and I showed those pictures and she was like, for the covers, and she was saying, well, at that point we're getting in the matter of preference. And I was like, well, yeah. And she's like, well, and then I said, but what about comics that are more focused on superheroes, like X-Men, the Grand Design? Which it's not an ongoing thing. It's almost over. I think we've got like 2 weeks. It comes out every week or bi-weekly. I think it's halfway or more than halfway over. And then X-Men Gold really isn't selling. I mean, they say these things. Well, I'm getting what I want. I was like, well, why can't we all get what we want? If you want your Squirrel Girl or whatever, okay, I don't care about it. But if that's the only thing I'm seeing and I'm not seeing good X-Men books, and they say, well, that's your preference. I'm like, well, it's a lot of people's preference. Everybody has that preference. I mean, I like mint chocolate chip ice cream. There's a ton of people that hate it. But guess what? Baskin-Robbins has 31 ice cream flavors of 30 other different ice cream flavors of things that you can get that's not mint chocolate chip. But if you go in there and you say, all we've got is mint chocolate chip, Rocky Road, strawberry ice cream, and pistachio ice cream. Those are only choices. And you hate all those choices. You don't want any of them. And someone gets mint chocolate chip ice cream and says, well, they got what I want. I don't care what you want. I'm like, well, of course, you're not working here. You don't need my money. And they're like, well, go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, okay, I will. They go to a different shop that has what they want. Now, let's say a whole bunch of customers, besides, those 4 ice cream flavors, they don't want any of that and they start going to another ice cream shop. They go to Cold Stone Creamery or Marble Slab. What's going to happen to Baskin-Robbins? They went from selling 31 ice cream flavors to 4. Eventually, they're going to have to close up because they have hardly any customers. They get the same 7-8 customers that like those random ice cream flavors because of their preference. That's what they prefer. And they don't sell anything. They close up. That's pretty much what these guys or women are doing at Marvel. It doesn't make any sense. And one of them was saying, well, how about we all get what we want? I'm like, yeah, that would be awesome. But we're not all getting what we want. And someone's like, oh, well, you're whining. All you guys, Diversity Comics, y'all are bigots. And Diversity Comics is, harassing us. And I'm like, is he though? Because when you have Comic Pros saying men are canceled with half their head shaved off, and if you want to shave half your head off, go ahead, do whatever you want. It's your head, it's your hair. You can dress whatever you want. That's on you. But when you have people saying that, or saying men are this, or fighting the patriarchy, or yada yada yada, or they completely ignore the fact that you have guys like Max Bemis saying feast upon my bum, or I blank and hate you, or all these other type of things, or Magdalene Visaggio saying they want to bash every straight male's head in, and you're just sitting here and you're like, this is a business. If there was anyone else doing this at another job, they would be fired on the spot. If customers were complaining about a product they didn't want, the company would find ways to fix it if they start to see that it's affecting their sales. Marvel has done neither of these things, and you're just like, if you want to get the argument, we all get what we want, okay, then do that. But that's not what's happening, and people try to argue down about that. But then you start looking at the sales. Just look at the sales. The sales are just not good. I mean, and if that was the case, people are just whining, then what about the comic book retailers that went to Comic-Con last year in that panel and chewed out Marvel saying, your books aren't selling? People want to say, well, I get Squirrel Girl and X-Men the Grand Design, and I'm sitting over here, I'm like, yeah, you and how many other people? Like, how many people get X-Men and get Squirrel Girl? Very, very small audience. Not enough to help comic book shop stores stay open, or enough digital sales. I mean, if you look at Comic-Con, you can see the sales are abysmal. Not to mention the fact those are shipped to local comic book retailers, not sold. And it's weird because, I was like, well, I'll just speak calmly and share this information. No, it's got to be, even if you try to not be the person that's attacking them and just say, well, why do you feel this way? You can't do that. Instead, they start attacking you, and it's stupid. But hopefully this year will be a better year for Marvel. And not to say even DC's starting to kind of make some dumb decisions, but hopefully if it doesn't, I don't know, the whole SJW thing doesn't reach out to their main titles, then I should be okay. I should be okay with that. I mean, as long as they keep it a broad enough spectrum where you can still get your comic books, and the people that enjoy those type of things, or political agendas or whatever, can still get that, then sure, do whatever you want. But when you have abysmal comic sales, and I'm going in and seeing Hulk on the stands with She-Hulk, and it's like the issue number 4 or whatever from like 6 or 7 months ago, and it's still a thick stack of comics that nobody wants to touch, or Marvel Legacy on, you know, the counter at the shop that nobody's touched, or just thick stacks of Secret Empire that nobody's bought, you know, no one's bought, that's like 3 inches thick. I mean, come on, guys. Like, really? Just looking at that, and like, and someone could say, well, I buy that. Like, yeah, but you're not enough to support the printing, shipping costs, and